Okay, so today we're diving into a really interesting dog training method.
Okay.
Yeah, it's called REASOM.
Interesting.
It was developed by Onlinehund.dk, and it really challenges like the traditional treat-heavy approach that we see so much of.
Right, yeah.
And, it prioritizes rewarding calmness in the dog over, teaching those specific
Look, see, that's
commands.
what I find so fascinating about REASOM. It's like it gets us to think about the dog's internal state,
Right.
instead of just like, okay, can they do the behavior?
Yeah.
It's like, are they actually calm? Are they balanced
Yeah, exactly. Are they content?
from the inside out?
Yeah, and the article actually mentions this thing called the dopamine dilemma, which I thought
Yes.
was really interesting. Can you sort of unpack that a little bit for us?
Yeah. So, you know how like a lot of the traditional training methods,
Hmm.
they rely so heavily on treats as like that immediate reward.
Yeah.
So that, of course, floods the dog's brain with dopamine, which is
Hmm.
like, the feel-good neurochemical.
Yeah.
But the problem is that it can create this like cycle of craving independence, right?
Oh, interesting.
It's like constantly chasing that high
Yeah.
rather than like finding contentment
Right.
within themselves.
Yeah. It's like us reaching for another cookie or
Yeah.
refreshing our social media feeds constantly. We get in that like reward loop.
Exactly. It's that instant gratification.
Yeah.
And it's like those dopamine hits, they're
Yeah.
great for like, short-term motivation,
Yeah.
but they don't lead to like lasting, well-being.
Right. It's not sustainable, is it?
Mm.
Okay, so that makes a lot of sense. And so this is where RESUM comes in with its focus on serotonin instead, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
So REASOM encourages rewarding the dog's calm state of mind
Okay.
through things like, petting,
Yeah.
massage, and like gentle praise.
Right.
And these activities, what they do is they release serotonin, which promotes this sense of well-being and relaxation
Okay.
without, those addictive qualities of dopamine.
I see. So instead of that quick burst of like excitement from a treat,
Right.
we're going for that sort of more sustained sense of contentment.
Exactly.
Okay. Got it.
It's like, think about like the feeling we get from mindfulness meditation.
Right.
It's like that state of like peaceful awareness
Yeah.
rather than, like constant excitement.
Right. Okay. That's a good way to put it. And I can see how that would be so beneficial, I think, for both the dog and the owner.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Right. But I have to say, like, the practical side of me is kind of wondering, okay, but how do you actually train specific behaviors using this method? Like,
Right.
does it involve just like waiting for your dog to chill out and then be like, good dog? You know what I mean?
It's funny you should say that because a lot of people think that
Yeah.
it's not about like neglecting training
Right.
or just ignoring your dog unless they're like napping.
You're being quiet. Good dog.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You still very much, are training and you're doing games and stuff.
Right.
But the key is that you're rewarding the moments of calmness,
Mhm.
like within the activity.
Okay. So give me an example.
Okay, so let's say you're playing fish with your dog, right?
Mm.
Instead of you getting all excited when they're like chasing the ball,
Right.
you would, calmly praise them and maybe give them like a little gentle pet when they come back to you with the ball
Okay.
and sit patiently for the next throw.
So it's not so much about like rewarding them for the act of getting the ball,
Exactly.
but for bringing it back and being calm about it.
Yeah, like that more controlled kind of
Right.
bringing it back rather than just like,
I got it. I got it. Look at me.
right.
I need you to be a little bit calmer than this.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Or like, let's say you're teaching recall,
Okay.
which is, coming back when called.
Right.
Instead of using like a verbal command and a treat,
Mm-hmm.
you might use like a specific hand gesture and then reward your dog with like that calm praise and petting when they return to you and sit calmly.
Right.
So you're still communicating, but you're changing the way you're communicating.
Yeah, you're changing how you're rewarding.
Exactly.
Interesting.
And the thing is,
Yeah.
the article even talks about applying this to things like drive games
Right.
or dummy training.
Right. What you think of as being like high excitement.
Exactly.
Yeah.
High drive.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, even within that,
Yeah.
you could use REASOM,
Interesting.
right? Because it's not about like eliminating that instinct.
Right.
It's about teaching the dog to control their impulses.
Right.
So for example, with dummy training,
Mm-hmm.
you might focus on rewarding the dog for like resisting the urge to immediately grab the dummy and instead like waiting calmly for that release cue.
So it sounds like it's less about like never playing fetch or never
Yeah.
engaging in those activities and more about just finding those moments of
Exactly.
calmness within it
It's all about finding those moments of calmness.
and reinforcing those. Yeah.
Yes.
Interesting.
Because it's like we do that with children too.
That's true.
Right.
That's a really interesting parallel.
We teach them to manage their emotions,
Right.
right? And like
Yeah.
find joy in those quiet moments as well.
That is very true. It makes you wonder if this approach could be beneficial in other training contexts as well, like with horses, cats.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but my cats train me pretty well, so I think maybe I could take a page out of their book.
Take some notes.
There you go. There's some food for thought for our listeners today. Absolutely.
If you've experimented with a calmness-focused approach with your furry friend or even in other areas of your life, we'd love to hear about it.
Yes.
Hit us up on social media. Let us know how it's going.
Let us know your thoughts.
Until next time.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.